tip, when you do this, squint your eyes, like I always mention. It's so important to squint your eyes. You can see values so much easier. And at the same time, pay attention. Where's the brightest part of the wake? Is it on top? Is it in the middle, back? Is there some shadows? Because there's some shadows, you know, some of the sun is not going to be able to come through all of that water, so it's going to create some shadows even in the wake. So that's what we're going to do, and that's what you should look for. That way, when you are ready to do yours, you will be able to know where the lightest lights are and where the darkest darks are. I always ask myself that, where's my darkest light, where are my lightest lights? And go from there. Remember the rule of thirds for composition. Like I tried to place this boat a little bit on the right hand side where it's the most contrast. So I hope you are going to enjoy this. Thumbs up, of course. Give me a like. Subscribe will be wonderful. Go back to Senior Artist Strokes for more videos. I got a lot of them there showing you step by step, very easy exercises, kind of like fun little things like this. A lot of them from around here, along the coast. Now let's go and see how we can create the illusion of water being all disturbed and creating a lot of foam and waves. Beautiful effect. Let's see if we can do it. Let's go and follow along. Remember, practice. Let's go. Hello and welcome to Senior Artist Strokes. I'm Angel Mercado. We're working on a series of sketches about how we go about drawing water. The first one was about how we draw calm water. This time I want to show you how we go about doing a different effect. And this time is, you know, when a boat goes by and leaves a wake, you know, that all that water, splashy water around it. That's what we're going to learn how to do. How can we do that? So first thing I do here, this comes from Honeymoon Island. That's where I got the idea from. So in the Gulf of Mexico. So first thing we do is establish the horizon line, where we want the horizon line. You know, here's the middle, so we want a little bit above it. So about 2/3 up, we have the horizon line. And what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to go with my HB pencil. Okay, that's what I have, HB pencil. I'm just going to go and I'm going to start bringing this, just adding a little bit of tone to the paper. And the way I add tone to the paper is just going back and forth with my lightest pencil until I come all the way to the bottom of the page. I could do this in charcoal, and I like to work in charcoal, so it's a lot faster, but I know many of you will be using graphite, so I decided to do it in graphite. And as you can see, the first layer is very light, because on top of this is where we're going to build our layers, you know, for the water. The water in this instance was fairly calm. It wasn't really, it was a little bit of a breeze. What we're trying to accomplish today is how we can do the splash, you know, the wake of the boat when they go by. So that's why we need to add some graphite. This kind of like almost like adding paint to the canvas, you know. You need to have paint to move the paint around and be able to create values and in different colors and shapes and so forth. So same thing here, we need to add some kind of graphite to the paper. So there it is, and as you can see, I'm not trying to be very even with this, because we want to show them the water is moving. So by leaving a little bit of a highlights, a little bit darker lines here and there, we're going to start showing the movement of water. If we go completely smooth, that means it's a very calm day, you know, with no wind, and that happens, but very seldom you're going to see out in the ocean. So this way we can really show that there is something going on here. And of course, up to the top, I'm just going to go very light with my pencil. Nothing is white. Okay. And this scene, the only thing that's going to appear white is going to be the wake of the boat. So there we go. Okay. I'm going to go a little bit heavier, and the horizon line is always a little bit darker there, and then kind of goes on strands. Some are darker, some are lighter. Okay, so there's my water, my first layer there. Okay, so now what we're going to establish is where's the boat going to be at. The boat is going to be about right in here. Okay, and I'm going to place this boat. You know, most of the time, for composition's sake, we divide the paper in threes and thirds. So let's say right here, about here, not just this part. It's 1 and maybe 2/3 right about there, roughly. And we have, see, 1 and 2/3 here. So it's very close to the horizon line. It's going to be where my main point of focus could be in one of these intersections. Very simple shape, nothing too complicated, because this is more like about, you know, the wider than the boat. So we're going to do something very simple. And from here is where we're going to have this big splash of water, because this boat was moving along pretty good in the water, so it was leaving a pretty nice splash there. Pretty much goes all the way to the front. And I'm just doing this just to remind myself where this is at. That way I'm not going to saturate the paper here with color, or graphite. I want to do that in the rest of the paper, but not on the white part and the lighter part. So I'm going to go and do the same thing a little bit underneath it. That way we can showcase the wake a little bit better. And on top, it's going to have to be a little bit darker. That way our water is going to show better. And of course the boat is going to be darker than the water. So I'm just going to leave a little bit of the end of the boat. Has a little bit of a lighter tone. So I'm just going to paint a little, or draw a little bit of a, lighter tone down my boat. There. I had this nice pencil set I bought. It's a Black Wing. Some of you, I'm sure, have heard about Black Wing. Very nice pencil. Has a nice eraser in the you can actually use at the tip there. And I'm going to kind of redraw my boat a little bit. There we go. Okay. So it's going to show a little bit of the rear of the boat, and also it's going to have this was an outboard engine, so you're going to see a little bit of the engine there. Not much, just a little bit. And the upper part of the boat is going to be a little bit darker than the rest. So I'm just going to go and darken the upper part. About right here is where we have the cabin. There, maybe it was about right in here. This is a fishing boat, so it doesn't have a whole lot of stuff going on. And everything is going to be darker than the water, of course. There. And now we're just establishing, the main shapes that we need to have. Here was the driver of the boat, and he's in a hurry. He needs to get there and get the fish before somebody else gets him, I guess. So he was really moving along. Darker there for the details. There, that's pretty good. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to go in at the bottom of this, where the water is at. We're just going to go and darken it. And from here it's kind of like a zigzag effect. You're kind of going like this. The closer you get to this edge, the longer the strokes are going to be, because the closer the water is to you. So these lines are going to appear longer. Okay, the farther you go, the less detail you're going to have. Like for instance, right here on top, I'm going to have very little detail at the distance, and here I'm just going to start getting a little bit darker. And of course, the darker is going to not be, you're not going to see a lot of reflections here because this boat is moving pretty fast, so the water is not going to be very calm, therefore you're not going to have a lot of reflections. Okay, so we pretty much got our drawing established, what it's going to look like. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to start going a little more in detail. Okay, and I'm going to start adding more tone to this, darken it a little bit. One of the darkest parts is the engine, and one thing you have to remember is a lot of water going on here, so you're not going to see the whole part of the boat or the engine part. You're going to see a lot of details in here on top because all of this is kind of like splashy water. And here now we're going to start being a little more careful about shading the next step, because this one we want it to have a little bit darker but more even. This boy was moving along pretty fast and it was a little bit farther away from where I was at, so you don't see a lot of details. The reason why I'm going in both directions is because if you go only in one direction, there are many places where the paper is going to look kind of white, since you know it's not an even flat surface. There are going to be places that are not going to be touched by the pencil too much, so you need to go up and down just to make sure that everything is going to be covered. Because if we want to really get the illusion and the wake, you know, it's pretty bright and white and foamy, we need to have dark around it. That's the only way we're going to show it. So that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm just trying to create some darker tone. And I always enjoy working in layers. Layers seems to be what works better for me, since we don't have to commit very early in the game on what's going to go where. We just want to have it nice and keep our options open, nice and loose like this. Every once in a while I like to squint my eyes just to see how the tones are looking, and so far I kind of like the way it's going. So now I'm going to go and try to add more details to this. And remember, the details are to a minimum. If you put too many details, especially the small stuff, it's going to take the illusion of distance, because you will not be seeing a lot of details at the distance. You just see shapes. So that is all I'm concerned about. I'm just concerned about showing shapes, like for instance the shape of the boat. And this is just almost just as dark as some areas in the boat, so I can use this to judge my colors here. You see, the darkest here, the boat is going to be, or this part of the boat is going to be right in this area. So here is going to be the same. I'm not going to go any darker than this. And as you can see, I'm skipping this area. Just try to leave the white alone. That way it will show a lot nicer in our final drawing. Okay, so now I'm just going to go on and start doing some of the detail here. Okay, for instance, this part is going to be darker. Broken line there is nice because that shows that the water is really splashing and we lose this detail. Here it has this sort of like boom. I don't even know what these parts are called. All I know is that I made it nice for a sketch. I have no idea what exactly the shape, because it was too far away to distinguish that, but I can do that there. And this area is going to be darker then while I have it, let me go something like this. Have something else, another box or something like this. It looks dark, so I'm just going to put the shape there. You see, just nothing but a shape. You don't really have to know exactly what is there. Has a little roof. Here it's going to have something in the front there. There. Okay, so I'm squinting my eyes, and so far I think we're doing pretty good. One thing I'm going to do, I don't like the way the water is almost like the same level as the boat, you see. You want to try to avoid this tangent line. You want to either make it below or above the boat. So I'm going to go a little bit higher here just to make it look like then the boat is not right there at the horizon line. There, makes it for a better composition. Kind of like a cross hatching effect. And you see how dark it's getting in this area. Very light, I'm going very light with the pencil. Under here, since there's no sun here in it, I'm going to just make it darker, just underneath, not on top, just under there. Also here it's going to be a little bit darker. Okay, so let me move a little bit closer so you can see what's going on. There. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to get my stamp, paper stamp, and first I'm going to clean it with a little bit of tissue, you see. Just clean it a little bit from the last use. And I'm going to go and start blending some of this. First I'm going to go to the boat, because this part I don't want a lot of texture. It's pretty even there. And I'm going pretty light, I'm not going hard at all in here. Just enough to make it look like, and make this surface a little bit irregular, you know, not too straight. There we go. I'm going to clean it again because I want to go over the sky, and I'm using the side. You see, I'm not using the tip of the stamp, I'm using the side. Just in a little bit of an angle, because it might be a little bit of an indication of some little cloud whispering somewhere around there. But this is just to get rid of the texture, because we don't want a whole lot of textures or showing lines in the sky. We want something that is smoother in comparison to the ocean. Now I'm going to go and start going all the way down also in the ocean, but also in a very light, putting very little pressure. And I'm escaping some areas, of course. We don't want to make it even, because you don't want to make it flat, of course, because the water is not flat in the ocean, you know. You might not have a lot of waves going on, but nevertheless it's not going to be flat. And I'm going to go here in a circular motion just to get rid of all those lines that I did, just to add a little bit of darker tone, just to see that the light, no sunlight, wasn't reflecting there. There we go, just to make it a little bit more, a little bit softer, creating the illusion, you know, of that foam. And about right here, also tend to be more of a solid line there that's going to separate the water from the foam. Add a little bit more in the front. There. You see, the more we add there, the more our foam is going to show. And of course, it's always nice to have like the edges a little bit darker. That way the eye is going to go straight to this area. It's not going to linger around this area much. This time I'm creating kind of like a chisel edge, you see that? And I'm going to try to go all the way along the edge of the boat like this, just to show them the sun, you know, was here in this area. And also here. Okay, and now I'm going to go back to the water again. I'm going to get it in a little point like this, and just going to tap the top. tap, 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 right on top of it. Just the top of it. Just to show them it's throwing water around. You can do a little bit of an angle, that way I can show them the water is going backwards. Okay, so now I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, yes, looking good, but now we need to have, you see where there are light highlights there a little bit lighter, right below I'm going to make these little lines. Just kind of like to show them the water, you know, is moving, and this reflection of these little waves and the water movement. So I'm just going under the highlights here and there. You don't have to do all of them. You know, here's they have this, always have this kind of net for the fish, so there was a net there, like that, there, and of course this net is going to be reflecting some sunlight also, so right here I'm just going to go just like that, no more than that. Maybe do a little line just to bring the highlight back, and that's all we need to show there. And maybe we can just show a little, just a few birds just flying at the distance, you know. They're always around, aren't so much to the landscape there. And that's pretty much what all we're going to do, all we need to do. Here maybe I can just reshape this engine a little bit more there. There. And how much further you want to go, that's always going to be up to you. We all have, you know, sometimes we get enthused and we start doing sometimes too much, and it's not necessary, but I know how that goes. We all done that. So a tip for you, when you're doing this, try to see if you can find some photographs. See if you can find some material that has, you know, something similar like this, and pay attention to it. See where's the darkest, where's the lightest, you know, how we can bring this more like back to life, just make it brighter. And you're going to notice that most of the time the answer is going to be is by making the surroundings a little bit darker. That way you can bring the white, you know, just on a high key, on a high note. There we go. So pretty much we're just done with our foam. So now you know the secrets about how we can create it. And this is only by adding the dark. You can see how the difference it makes when I start adding a little bit of darker line. The whole thing just tends to glow. There you go. So that is how you make foam, or the illusion of foam, right? Well, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.